Robert Edward Lee, Mars Robert, General, commanded the Army of Northern Virginia, surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse, April 1865. Thomas Jonathan Jackson, Stonewall, Lieutenant General, brilliant tactician, dominated the Shenandoah Valley, killed by friendly fire at Chancellorsville, 1863. Nathan Bedford Forrest, Wizard of the Saddle, Lieutenant General, self-taught cavalry genius, rose from private to general through battlefield instinct. James Longstreet, Old Pete, Lieutenant General, Lee's most trusted corps commander, later blamed unfairly for the Gettysburg defeat. John Bell Hood, General, aggressive division commander, lost an arm and a leg, destroyed his own army at Nashville, 1864. Pierre-Gustave Totin Beauregard, the Little Napoleon, General, fired the war's opening shots at Fort Sumter, April 1861. Joseph Eggleston Johnston, General, cautious strategist, repeatedly retreated before Sherman during the Atlanta campaign, frustrating Confederate leadership. Jubal Anderson Early, Old Jube, Lieutenant General, led the daring 1864 raid that reached the outskirts of Washington, D.C. Ambrose Powell Hill, Little Powell, Lieutenant General, famed for forced marches, killed by Union soldiers days before Appomattox surrendered. Wade Hampton III, Lieutenant General, wealthy planter turned elite cavalry commander, succeeded Stuart as cavalry chief after his death. George Washington Custis Lee, son of Robert E. Lee, Major General, commanded Richmond's defenses, captured during the retreat to Appomattox. Fitzhugh Lee, nephew of Robert E. Lee, Major General, skilled cavalry commander, later became a U.S. Army general in 1898. John Cabell Breckinridge, former U.S. Vice President, Major General, became Confederate Secretary of War during the war's final desperate months. Braxton Bragg, General, controversial Army of Tennessee commander, won at Chickamauga but failed to exploit the victory. Richard Stoddard Ewell, Old Baldhead, Lieutenant General, lost a leg in 1962, hesitated critically on Gettysburg's first day. Patrick Ronayne Claiborne, Stonewall of the West, Major General, Irish immigrant general, proposed freeing enslaved men to fight for the South. John Brown Gordon, Major General, rose from lawyer to top commander, wounded 5 times in a single day at Antietam. Daniel Harvey Hill, Lieutenant General, sharp-tongued corps commander, discovered Lee's lost battle plans before Antietam, sparking chaos. Leonidas Polk, the fighting bishop, Lieutenant General, Episcopal bishop turned general, killed by artillery fire near Marietta, Georgia, 1864. Simon Bolivar Buckner, Lieutenant General, surrendered Fort Donaldson in 1862, later became Kentucky's governor after the war. William Joseph Hardy, Old Reliable, Lieutenant General, wrote the Confederacy Standard Infantry Drill Manual before commanding troops himself. Richard Taylor, Lieutenant General, son of President Zachary Taylor, skilled commander, among the last generals to surrender. Stephen Dill Lee, Lieutenant General, youngest Lieutenant General in Confederate service, later founded Mississippi State University after the war. Edmund Kirby Smith, General, commanded the isolated Trans-Mississippi Department, last major Confederate force to surrender, 1865. Alexander Peter Stewart, Old Strait, Lieutenant General, disciplined corps commander under Bragg, later helped establish Chickamauga's National Battlefield Park. John Clifford Pemberton, Lieutenant General, Northern-born general who surrendered Vicksburg, becoming one of the war's scapegoats. Richard Herron Anderson, Fighting Dick, Lieutenant General, steady, underappreciated corps commander, fought in nearly every major Eastern theater battle. Albert Sidney Johnston, considered by Davis the finest general, mortally wounded leading the surprise attack at Shiloh, 1862. Theophilus Hunter Holmes, Granny Holmes, Lieutenant General, aging, ineffective commander whose trans-Mississippi leadership drew persistent criticism from peers. Benjamin Franklin Cheatham, Major General, hard-fighting Tennessee Division commander, present at nearly every major Western theater battle. John Porter McCown, Major General, Division Commander at Murfreesboro, later court-martialed and demoted for insubordination. Howell Cobb, Major General, former U.S. Treasury Secretary, prominent politician general, organized Georgia's home defense forces late war. Henry Heth, Major General, his division's search for shoes accidentally triggered the Battle of Gettysburg, 1863. Bushrod Rust Johnson, Major General, hard-fighting division commander, present at the disastrous Confederate defeat at Nashville, 1864. Edward Johnson, Old Clubby, Major General, captured at the Bloody Angle during Spotsylvania's brutal hand-to-hand fighting, 1864. William Brimage Bate, Major General, Tennessee lawyer-soldier, wounded 3 times in battle, later became a U.S. Senator later on in life. Matthew Caldraith Butler, Major General, lost a front at Brandy Station, later became a U.S. Senator post-war. Robert Frederick Hoke, Major General, recaptured Plymouth, North Carolina in 1864. Joseph Brevard Kershaw, Major General, led troops through Antietam, Gettysburg, and the brutal Shenandoah Valley campaigns of 1864. John Stevens Bowen, Major General, died of dysentery weeks after surrendering Vicksburg alongside Pemberton in 1863. James Lawson Kemper, Major General, severely wounded during Pickett's charge at Gettysburg, later became Governor of Virginia. David Rump Jones, Major General, promising division commander, died suddenly of heart disease in early 1863. William Henry Fitzhugh Lee, Rooney Lee, Major General, Robert E. Lee's son, wounded and captured, later exchanged as prisoner. Lunsford Lindsay Lomax, Major General, led Confederate cavalry through the Shenandoah Valley, later became a National Park Superintendent. William Wing Loring, Old Blizzards, Major General, one-armed Mexican War veteran, later commanded Egyptian troops after the Civil War. Mansfield Lovell, Major General, blamed for the fall of New Orleans in 1862. Joan Calvin Brown, Major General, wounded multiple times in battle, later became Governor of Tennessee after the war. Thomas James Churchill, Major General, surrendered his garrison at Arkansas Post in 1863, later became Arkansas's governor. Henry Delamar Clayton, Major General, Alabama lawyer-soldier, wounded at Chickamauga, later became president of the University of Alabama. James Patton Anderson, Major General, Florida physician-politician turned division commander, fought through the brutal Atlanta campaign. George Bibb Crittenden, Major General, struggled with alcoholism, resigned his commission after a humiliating defeat at Mill Springs. Daniel Smith Donaldson, Major General, designed Fort Donelson's defenses, died of illness before the war's midpoint. Arnold Elzey, Baldhead Elzey, Major General, severely wounded in battle, later oversaw Richmond's inner defense lines. James Fleming Fagan, Major General, Arkansas cavalry commander, led raids during Sterling Price's ill-fated Missouri campaign. Charles William Field, Major General, severely wounded at 2nd Manassas, later returned to lead Hood's old division. John Horace Forney, Major General, defended Mobile, Alabama's crucial coastal fortifications throughout much of the later war. Samuel Gibbs French, Major General, New Jersey-born Confederate general, fought through the entire grinding Atlanta campaign. Franklin Gardner, Major General, defended Port Hudson through a lengthy siege, surrendering days after Vicksburg finally fell. Jeremy Francis Gilmer, Major General, served as Confederate chief engineer, designing key fortifications defending both Richmond and Atlanta. Brian Grimes, Major General, fought relentlessly until the war's final surrender at Appomattox, 1865. Harry Thompson Hayes, Louisiana Tiger, Major General, led the fierce Louisiana Tigers Brigade through many brutal Eastern theater battles. Thomas Carmichael Hindman, Major General, imposed harsh martial law, later assassinated after the war ended. Benjamin Hoosier, Major General, criticized for sluggish performance during the 7 Days battles near Richmond, 1862. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. History Chronicles has many more fascinating stories waiting for you. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next incredible journey into history.